This week, small-town girl Renee Zellweger mistakes soap opera fantasy for reality in Nurse Betty.
Kidnappers Ryan Philippe and Benicio del Toro look for an easy payoff in The Way of the Gun.
And serial killer Keanu Reeves stalks his next victim in The Watcher. Renee Zellweger is too wrapped up in a soap opera to even notice Morgan Freeman and Chris Rock, but soon their destinies will cross in Nurse Betty. It's one of 5 new movies we'll review this week. I'm Richard Roeper, columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Nurse Betty is a comedy about a woman in love with a doctor on a soap opera, and it's also a hard-boiled crime movie about 2 professional criminals who kill her husband and come looking for her. But that makes the movie sound too simple because it's not really a comedy or an action picture, but the story of 2 dreamers who fall in love with their own fantasies. Renee Zellweger plays a Kansas housewife who goes to Los Angeles looking for the soap opera heartthrob.
You must know him. He's really handsome, and he's gentle and considerate. He's been sued for sexual assault.
What?
Well, he didn't do it. He was set up.
Betty gets her big break when she meets the actor who plays the doctor. He's played by Greg Kinnear and doesn't realize she's serious. He thinks this is just a clever method audition.
The day I left you, I just drove and drove. I drove all day and all that night. I just kept driving. I stopped at this old country church, and the pastor let me in, and I sat.
In the very first pew where we would have sat on our wedding day. I can't believe I remembered that. Although, I wrote it.
Morgan Freeman and Chris Rock have killed Betty's husband, but she has completely suppressed that memory, and now they're in L.A. and know about her obsession with the TV star.
That's Lonnie, the main guy from the show. And who's that next to him? Betty. That's definitely Betty. I told you this ain't no coincidence.
There's funny material in Nurse Betty about acting and actors, and Greg Kinnear is skilled in the way he simultaneously does and doesn't know that Betty is delusional. But the heart of this movie involves Morgan Freeman and Renee Zellweger as parallel characters. They're both in love with someone they've never met. Zellweger loves the TV doctor, and Freeman loves Zellweger. And they're both projecting their own idealism on fantasy figures in their minds. It all builds up to a brilliant scene toward the end of the film between Freeman and Zellweger, who are somehow able to be wistful and touching in the middle of a gunfight. The movie was directed by Neil LaBute, who combined madness and violence with sweet idealism, and I liked it.
I didn't think it worked at all. You mentioned
really?
this scene at the end with Morgan Freeman and Renee Zellweger. I was rolling my eyes by then saying, how did we get to this point? Morgan Freeman is a great actor, but he's in a different movie than, for example, Chris Rock, who's playing everything for slapstick. Now, Renee Zellweger plays this Nurse Betty character. I understand why she's obsessed with the soap opera doctor, because she's had this traumatic experience. She has this sad little life. Answer me this. Why is Morgan Freeman obsessed with Renee Zellweger's character?
Because he's
other
that
than
kind of a
part
guy.
of the script to make it balanced? How is he that kind of guy? How do we know
kind of a
he's
guy?
kind of that guy? I
Because
never
he
saw
tells her,
anything in
he
the movie.
explains it to her. He says, you know, he feels like, in a way, she's his angel who could have led him into a different life. He's a man who wants to retire, who's tired of his job, who loves his son, who's sad, and who, in all sorts of other ways, sees her in her smile. I mean, he's nuts, just like she's nuts. They're 2 crazy people who are both in love with fantasies.
But he doesn't play crazy. He's, you know, Morgan Freeman's doing
but he does
that wise character who everybody's drawn to.
It's very clear what happens to him when he's at the edge of the Grand Canyon and he dances with her in his fantasy, in his mind.
That's the first time I got an indication.
Yes,
and that was just a silly, ridiculous scene that didn't
wasn't.
dovetail with the rest of what Morgan Freeman and Chris Rock were talking about.
The center of this movie is the fact that these 2 characters are almost the same person.
I think this movie was trying to be a little bit of Pulp Fiction, a little bit of Tootsie, a little bit of the King of Comedy.
Even if you didn't
and it was a really weird mix.
Even if none of it made sense, wasn't it really entertaining?
It was not entertaining at all for me. In fact, I thought it was a really ugly mess of a movie. I was really disappointed, given the great actors and the great director.
I think we disagree.
I think we do, for sure. Okay, next movie is Turn It Up. It's a hip-hop version of Mean Streets with Praz from the Fugees playing an aspiring rapper named Diamond. Rap star Ja Rule co-stars as Gage, who is Diamond's lifelong friend. He's got a chip on his shoulder bigger than the medallion hanging around his neck. Now, Diamond lives for his music, but Gage just lives in the moment, and nearly every moment he experiences has the potential for violence, as when he approaches a music executive.
Yo, on the real, Mr. White is almost done. It's crazy. It's hot to death already.
Well, I'm sure it is. So, why don't you and your artist just keep at it? And if you ever do complete your tape, then you call me.
Call? That's it. Give you a call.
Everybody talks a lot about Diamond's talent, and there are lots of scenes of him in the studio, but he performs live just once. Maybe that's a good thing. Like many rap artists, Diamond needs a lot of studio help to produce a decent sound, but when Gage offers to finance an album, Diamond's instincts tell him it's blood money.
Where I get this kind of money from? Man, when Jesus healed the blind man, did the blind man ask Jesus how he did it? Yeah, you ain't Jesus, you ain't blind.
Nearly every male character in Turn It Up is a thug or a killer or a drug dealer, a thief or a ball of sleaze, but I guess we're supposed to root for Diamond because he loves his pregnant girlfriend and he doesn't kill with the exact same cold efficiency as Gage, who's just a psychopath. Now, Turn It Up has a slick blue-tinted look, which I liked, and I did like the relationship that brews between Diamond and his estranged father. But the story's mired in urban cliches, and it's so drenched in blood and despair that I really didn't care if anybody survived.
I'm completely in agreement with you on this, and the thing that really got me was that Diamond is presented as the film's hero. Why doesn't this guy get a job? I mean, he seems to feel it's his right to have his studio sessions produced by this other guy going out and dealing drugs and killing people.
Yeah.
And then occasionally they try to make him look like a good guy, like when Gage is going to shoot the cleaning woman. He says, oh, come on, man, she's pregnant.
She's pregnant. Don't kill her.
I mean,
We
like,
just killed 6 other people.
He's all heart.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Isn't
so
he a great guy? Nobody in this movie gets a regular job, right?
No. Well,
okay.
no. I guess maybe that's the point, that maybe it's a kind of behind-the-scenes thing about the rap world and the fact that sometimes you have to do bad things to... But at the same time, he's so sleazy, and they go out of their way to show that all the bad guys are white or Chinese. The worst people in these movies are the heroes.
And the
They're their
record
own worst
executive
enemies.
is Mr. White. I mean, this is not
real
a subtle movie, and the acting is really kind of poor, too.
You got it. Later in the show, FBI agent James Spader is caught in a deadly cat-and-mouse game with the Watcher.
I assume he's still strangling a young woman on the piano wire.
Coming up next, kidnapper Ryan Philippe is on the lam in The Way of the Gun.
Are you the brains of the outfit, Reese? To tell you the truth, I don't think this is a brains kind of operation. There's something you need to learn about this business, little fella.
Yeah, what's that?
The only thing you can assume about a broken-down old man is that he's a survivor.
James Caan is supposed to be on the same side as that bodyguard, played by Nicky Katt, but he doesn't trust him. Caan is a fixer who's hired by a millionaire after the kidnapping of the surrogate mother who is carrying the rich man's child. It's a sloppy crime, but the bodyguards were caught flat-footed in The Way of the Gun, the directorial debut of Christopher McQuarrie, who won an Oscar for his screenplay for The Usual Suspects. Benicio del Toro and Ryan Philippe are the kidnappers, and Juliette Lewis plays the woman who was hired to have the millionaire's baby.
Come on, guys. We got you dead to it. It's over. What?
The people, man, the people.
Can't you people see there are guns here? Get out!
Caan sees through the mistakes on both sides and tries to deal directly with Del Toro, who is demanding a $15 million ransom. This is a jewel of a performance by James Caan.
You wait while your partner sends the girl. When she gets there, we let you go.
Sounds shaky.
It's better than the alternative, I can promise you that.
The two young kidnappers are filled with words of pseudo-profundity, which they intone between the movie's abundance of gunfights.
What do you think?
I think a plan is just a list of things that don't happen.
There are a lot of good things in Way of the Gun and way too many other things. Finally, we lose patience with the plot twists and double crosses and reversals and revelations and revisions and nothing ever being quite what it seems, and scenes of surprising tension that are then punctuated by shootouts that are less like action than like obligatory rituals. Christopher McQuarrie proves in this movie that he not only knows how to write good scenes, he knows how to direct them, but now he needs to edit a little more and dial down a little. The Way of the Gun has so much material crammed into it, it's like he thought he might never get another chance to use this stuff.
This is one of the most cynical, ugliest movies I've seen in a long time. You said there are a lot of good things. I think there's one good thing.
James
and
Caan.
It's James Caan.
Yes, he's very good.
It's a supporting actor quality performance, but it does not belong with the rest of this movie, or maybe they don't belong with James Caan. And there are scenes with women giving birth while shootouts are going on, and these guys talk in this real self-conscious manner. You know, a plan is only a bunch of ideas, a day is only a bunch of hours, all this kind of crap. There's narration. At one point, they name themselves, they go, call us this, and it's the characters actually played by Newman and Redford in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. How dare them compare themselves to such a great movie and such great characters. I was really turned off by this movie. Every little bit of it, every scene of it,
what it amounts
just had me
to
cringing.
is
going,
a guy,
on,
McQuarrie has this mastery of construction, and he doesn't know when to stop. He keeps constructing and constructing and constructing, and he's using spare parts. All the elements in this movie are out of other road pictures, out of other kidnapping pictures, other shooting pictures, other violent pictures, out of the Wild Bunch, and every place else, because he doesn't really have anything that he wants to say.
No.
It's all style, except for the Khan character, who comes in as this wise older guy who sees everything and kind of understands everything.
Let's see a movie about him.
Scenes.
Let's see a movie about the
That
James
would be
Caan
nice.
character and get rid of all the
That
other
would be
ugly
nice.
characters in this movie. Okay, coming up next, we've got James Spader, who has a connection he cannot shake with Keanu Reeves in The Watcher.
I know your job is hard, Joel, so I'm willing to take steps to try and make things work between us. I'll send you a picture, and you can have a day to try to find it.
Perfect. James Spader is a burned-out FBI agent, and Keanu Reeves is the serial killer who has jammed the circuits in Spader's brain in The Watcher, a superbly crafted and wickedly stylish thriller that zooms along like a sinister video game of hunter and prey. It would have been a lot safer to cast Spader as the twisted sicko and Reeves as the mind-fried good guy, but it's more interesting to see each of them tackle the unconventional part. Spader is particularly good as a passive-aggressive ex-agent who moved from L.A. to Chicago, only to have murder once again land literally at his doorstep.
You know this woman?
No, I've never seen her. What happened? She dead?
Oh, I haven't made any reference to homicide. Why would you hasten to such a conclusion?
Well, you got half the block taped off, and you got, what, about a dozen cops in there? Picking up your crime scene, it just doesn't seem like someone boosting stereos to me.
The serial killer played by Reeves is David Allen Griffin. Those guys always have three names, and he needs Joe tailing him to make his work challenging.
When I worked the case for 3.5 years in Los Angeles, we attributed at least 11 homicides to him.
What's he doing in Chicago?
I assume he's still strangling young women with piano wire.
Marissa Tomei is the psychiatrist who wonders if Joe needs Griffin as much as Griffin needs Joe.
No, I don't think vengeance has anything to do with it. I think there's a story, a ritual that he follows. Over the years, I became part of the story. It probably didn't make sense without me.
In other words, he missed you.
Odd, isn't it?
Did you miss him?
We've often seen action movie anti-heroes who have left the police force or the FBI or the Marines or the Navy SEALs because they've seen too much killing or they've experienced one too many crime scenes. But Spader puts a daring spin on the cliche by making Joe so psychologically scarred and emotionally battered that he wakes up flinching. So how's a guy like that going to defeat someone as cheerfully bloodthirsty as David Allen Griffin? That question gives us a real rooting interest in this movie. Unfortunately, The Watcher does fall back on too many warehouse confrontations and roaring car chases and convenient explosions to be called a minor classic, but still, it does have more than enough energy and innovation to merit a strong recommendation.
Boy, not for me, and I'll tell you, I agree with you about Spader. I think he's very effective here and has nice scenes with Tomei, but come on, this is another one of those movies where the killer is more interested in setting puzzles and booby traps and mind games for his enemy than he is in killing
Just like
people.
some real-life serial killers have done, where they want to be caught. Oh, you hear all the time about serial killers who
are more
want to
interested
be
in
caught.
killing. They're more interested in killing than they are in lighting candles in the warehouse. Another one of these scenes where the guy went out and he apparently got 1,000 candles and lit them all, you know.
Yeah, but by then, I was so into the story that, okay, there are some stylistic devices going on here.
First of all, they keep undercutting the suspense with all of those repetitious helicopter and squad car chases, which are to a fault. I mean, cars racing around blocks and blocks at a time in order to circle one building after another.
They're going after a serial killer. What are they supposed to do? You got to show that. And they're not repetitious because they're showing us something at the beginning of the movie that comes back at the end of the movie. There's some great flashbacks. I really like the style and the look of this movie and the performances.
Some good stuff,
really
but it just doesn't really get over the top.
I think it's a fun popcorn movie.
Okay, our next movie, a popcorn movie. That's not good enough. It has to be good enough that you don't need the popcorn. Okay, our next movie is an extraordinary documentary named Dark Days about the so-called mole people who live in makeshift shelters far beneath New York City in the permanent darkness of the railroad tunnels down there. They don't consider themselves homeless. They prefer this kind of independent living to the dangers of the streets and official city shelters. Director Mark Singer took his camera down into these bleak and rat-infested areas and over a long period gained the trust of these dwellers in the dark, including Henry, who prides himself on his cooking.
If you're homeless, this is the best spot. You got a door with a lock on it. You got a Frigidaire. Well, you come in and suggest what you want to eat, because you got somewhere to cook it, you can go buy it.
Time I think these done, I took the top off and let them brown. There ain't gonna do much browning with that top on them.
Two men named Lee and Julio value their cats as pets, and also because they scare away the rats.
He don't eat them. He just plays with them and do a little damage so they don't come into my territory, you know. He's just kind of like a trooper, yeah, a little protector, yeah. Trooper protector, yeah.
Trooper.
The subway dwellers buy some of their food and find the rest by scavenging.
This is one of the safest spots you can eat from, you know, because the food is clean. Plus, it's kosher. Once they throw all their food out, they put it all in one bag. They don't mix it up like with garbage, coffee grounds, trash, and nothing like that. It all be clean.
Director Mark Singer says that when he first heard about the mole people, he knew that he had to go down to the tunnels to see them for himself. Then he realized he had to make a movie about them. He borrowed a camera, raised money from friends and loans, and eventually found himself homeless, too, with only the film project as a rationale. This is a remarkable documentary, not just about the homeless, but about the will to survive and to have a place of your own. We tend to think of homeless people as lazy, but a movie like Dark Days is a reminder that some of them work a lot harder than we do just to survive, and they bring great imagination and resilience to the task.
You are so right about this. You hear the words documentary and homeless, and you think, do I want to see this? Which was my initial approach going into it. But you're so right about the direction here. It brings a real humanity. These people have a real humanity, and they're very much alive. They have philosophies, they have heartbreak, they have squabbles among themselves. There are political things going on, battles over turf and things like that. And they are real people who want to make a better life, aren't quite sure how to do it. They know they have problems. They're not in denial. And you're right. They're not just under blankets like we see homeless people most of the time. We step over them. We don't think about it. They're up early. They got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work going in to get, to get some running water, to get a little heat, to get some food, to sell the cans.
There's a community down there. You know, at the end of the film, one of the guys is shown in this new apartment that he's been moved into on welfare. And in a way, you know this is a heck of a lot better than living down around the railroad tracks in the dark with the rats, but at the same time, it lacks the kind of community and the kind of feeling that it's his own place.
And it's almost more depressing because you wonder how long he's going to be able to hang on there, but you do root for him, absolutely. Coming up next, a classic comedy returns to the big screen and is new on DVD as well. Who cares if they're fictional? Spinal Tap is still my favorite metal group, and they're making a big-time comeback with the theatrical re-release of the mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap in 9 cities this weekend, and the debut of a special edition DVD VHS on September 12th. You can crank the volume all the way to 11 and smell the glove with Rob Reiner playing director Marty DeBurgi as he explores the music and the mayhem created by Nigel Tufnell, David St. Hubbins, and Derek Smalls, collectively known as Spinal Tap. Here, a young Fran Drescher plays a PR woman who informs the boys there's a problem with the cover of their new album.
You put a greased, naked woman on all fours with a dog collar around her neck and a leash. And a man's arm extended out up to here, holding on to the leash and pushing a black glove in her face to sniff it. You don't find that offensive?
The special edition DVD also includes treats such as Tap's appearance on the Joe Franklin Show, audio commentary from the band members, and tons of unreleased scenes. Billy Crystal's bit part as a party catering mime has been considerably expanded.
I used to be an actor, you know.
Oh, yeah?
But I had a problem. I could never remember my lines.
I see.
So I figured,
so
shut up. You know, don't say nothing. You know, my father sort of started this thing, you know, because at home with food and the way my father was, it was weird. He used to say the same thing to me. Every dinner he'd say the same thing to me. Shut up and eat. So that's what we do.
I see.
That's the name of the company.
Where's
Shut
the
Up and Eat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Like Shut Up and Eat.
Yeah, that's incredible.
The American Film Institute ranked This Is Spinal Tap as the 29th funniest American comedy of all time, but using the immortal logic of Nigel Tufnell, I think that's about 30 spots too low. This is a nearly perfect blend of satire, improv, deadpan humor, and heavy metal silliness, and it's my video pick of the week.
Now let's take one more look at the movies we reviewed on this week's show. A split decision on Nurse Betty with Renee Zellweger and Morgan Freeman. I liked its romantic zaniness, but Richard thought it was an ugly mess. Two thumbs way down for Turn It Up and its unsuccessful attempt to make heroes out of sleazeballs. 2 more thumbs down on Way of the Gun, although we both admired James Caan's strong performance. A split vote on The Watcher. Richard thought it was a stylish thriller. I thought the thrills were too contrived. And finally, 2 thumbs up for the fascinating and revealing documentary Dark Days about people who build homes under the city streets. It's rolling out gradually across the country, and I think you should give more thought to Nurse Betty, which has a lot of great qualities.
Trying to forget Nurse Betty, but I'm really liking James Spader in particular in The Watcher. Okay, remember, you can hear our reviews at Ebert-Roeper-movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, more new movies, including the karaoke comedy duet starring Gwyneth Paltrow and Huey Lewis, and also Almost Famous, a rock and roll love story starring Billy Crudup, Kate Hudson, and Frances McDormand. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.